We stand here as guardians of our inner citadel, bound not by chains of others' expectations, but by the strength we forge in silence, in darkness, and in resilience. Before we dive into these powerful lessons, if you're someone who values deep insights and seeks to strengthen your mind, take a second to like this video and hit subscribe. By doing so, you're not just supporting the channel, you're joining a community of individuals committed to living with purpose and resilience. Every video here is crafted to inspire and challenge you, so if that speaks to you, subscribe now and make sure you never miss out. Let's start this journey together. 1. The weight of your emotions is a choice. Imagine you're carrying a backpack filled with stones, each one representing an emotion: anger, sadness, jealousy, fear. The heavier this backpack, the harder it becomes to move forward. Now, imagine if someone else tried to add even more stones to it: insults, judgments, past grievances. You'd collapse under the weight, unless you learned to choose which stones to carry. The Stoics believed that, while we might not control the initial spark of emotion, we can control how we respond to it. We have the power to decide what we hold on to and what we release. Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher, emphasized that it's not the events themselves that harm us, but our judgment of them. The emotion arises naturally, but what follows is within our power. Do we let it linger, fuel it with rumination, or do we release it? When anger strikes, the Stoic pauses and questions it. Why am I angry? Is it something I control? If not, does holding on to it help or harm me? With practice, this pause becomes instinctive. We observe our emotions, not as a judge but as a student, and by understanding them we reduce their power over us. We choose how heavy our burdens feel. This is not to suppress emotions but to transform them from masters into servants. 2. Detach from what you cannot control. Most of our worries stem from a false sense of control over things that are inherently beyond our reach. Think about how often we fret over someone else's opinion, an uncertain future, or the actions of others. These are like chasing after the wind, uncontrollable and unaffected by our will. When we attach our peace to these unpredictable forces, we set ourselves up for endless suffering. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced war, betrayal, and countless uncertainties, realized this truth: you have power over your mind, not outside events. In his meditations, he returns again and again to this principle. He understood that focusing on what lies outside our control, such as the past, the behavior of others, or fate itself, only pulls us further from inner peace. Instead, he focused on his response, his actions, choices, and principles. The Stoics' task is to relinquish the illusion of control over anything but themselves. By doing so, we reclaim energy that would otherwise be lost to anxiety and frustration. Imagine detaching from what others think of you, from the worry of how tomorrow will unfold, or from resentment over past failures. This shift is not indifference, it is liberation. We turn our attention inward, and there we find a source of strength that cannot be disturbed. In choosing detachment, we understand that life will flow as it will. Our role is simply to respond with wisdom, strength, and grace. 3. Embrace hardship as a tool, not an obstacle. When life's challenges come, many of us instinctively resist, feeling wronged or singled out. We may see hardship as something that derails us from the life we want, or, worse, as an indication that we are somehow inadequate or unlucky. But the Stoic perspective is entirely different. Hardship is not an enemy but a mentor. Seneca, who faced personal exile, the loss of loved ones, and eventual forced suicide, found strength in the belief that hardship molds and strengthens the mind. He wrote, "Difficulty strengthens the mind, as labor does the body." Just as we strengthen our muscles through resistance, we fortify our character through struggle. Without challenges, we remain stagnant, untested, and vulnerable. But with them, we discover reservoirs of resilience and inner strength we never imagined. Consider the story of the young Spartan warriors who were trained not in comfort but in harsh, rigorous conditions that prepared them for any eventuality. Hardship was not something to avoid, it was something they embraced to become stronger. In the same way, each challenge we face, whether it's loss, disappointment, or failure, teaches us something vital. If we choose to learn from it, adversity becomes the forge that sharpens our patience, deepens our wisdom, and tempers our courage. When we adopt this mindset, obstacles lose their power over us. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we ask, "What can I learn from this?" We begin to see each setback as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Hardship is a tool, a sculptor, shaping us into who we are meant to be. The sooner we accept it, the sooner we find growth in places we once only found pain. 4. Refrain from the poison of comparison. Comparison is one of the most insidious traps of modern life. We live in a world where we are constantly exposed to others' achievements, possessions, and lifestyles. The tendency to measure our worth against others seems almost unavoidable. But as the Stoics knew well, comparison is a self-inflicted wound. Epictetus cautioned, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." By constantly measuring ourselves against others, we allow envy to breed within us, and envy is a thief. It robs us of our peace, our gratitude, and our contentment. When we compare, we often see only the surface of others' lives, unaware of their struggles and insecurities. We focus on what we lack, failing to appreciate what we have. The Stoic instead turns inward, asking, "Am I better than I was yesterday? Am I striving toward virtue and wisdom?" This internal measure frees us from the anxiety that comparison brings. Our goal is not to outshine others, but to illuminate our path by our own light, growing in our unique way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within, within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if thou wilt ever dig." We are the measure of our own success. When we stop comparing, we regain our autonomy, our contentment, and our gratitude. We recognize that the only approval we need is our own, that the only race we are in is the one against our former selves. By refraining from comparison, we free ourselves to focus on our journey, appreciating our progress and cultivating a deep respect for the unique path each person must walk. 5. Learn the art of holding silence. Words, when used impulsively, can betray us, exposing our insecurities, anger, or ego. But when we master the art of silence, we gain a powerful tool for self-control and insight. The Stoic values words that serve a purpose, words that heal, teach, or clarify, not words spoken merely to fill the void or prove a point. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, advised, "Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue." Words, once spoken, cannot be retracted. In silence, however, we can gather our thoughts, weigh our intentions, and choose whether our words are even necessary. When we refrain from speaking, we become observers, able to perceive subtle details that are often missed in haste. We cultivate patience, allowing others to reveal themselves fully while we hold our inner peace. Holding silence doesn't mean hiding from the truth or suppressing our voice. It's about choosing when to speak and when to listen, respecting the power of each. In silence, we can cultivate humility, preventing the impulse to dominate conversations or draw attention to ourselves. By listening more and speaking less, we learn about others and ourselves. We understand others' perspectives more deeply, offering a measured response instead of a reactive one. In a world filled with noise, silence is an oasis. It's where we find clarity, where we can filter out the unimportant and focus on what matters. We honor silence as a form of wisdom, one that tempers us, making each word we speak more thoughtful and each silence we hold more profound. 6. Expect nothing, appreciate everything. Expectations are like invisible chains that bind us to disappointment, often preventing us from recognizing the beauty of what we already have. The Stoics understood that setting rigid expectations for how life should unfold only leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. Instead, they practiced amor fati, the love of one's fate, embracing life as it is, without demanding it conform to their desires. Seneca put it simply, "The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he is not." When we release our expectations, we free ourselves from the grip of wanting things to go a certain way. We learn to appreciate life in its raw, unfiltered form, finding joy in what is, not in what we think should be. This shift transforms how we experience the world. Imagine approaching each day not with demands but with openness, accepting both the struggles and the delights as natural parts of life. When we don't expect people to act a certain way, we allow ourselves to appreciate them for who they are. When we don't expect circumstances to align perfectly, we find peace in adapting to whatever comes. Life, after all, is not ours to dictate. In place of expectation, we cultivate gratitude. We recognize that each moment, pleasant or difficult, is a gift. In choosing appreciation over expectation, we free ourselves from disappointment and open ourselves to the beauty of the present. Instead of clinging to how we wish things to be, we embrace how things are, finding contentment in the simplest of joys. 7. Guard your time fiercely. Time is the most precious resource we possess, yet it's also the one we tend to squander most easily. Money, possessions, even health, these can often be regained or improved. But time once gone is irretrievable. The Stoic believes that every hour, every minute, is invaluable and should be spent with intention and purpose. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, cautioned us people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. This fierce protection of time is not about becoming rigid or isolating ourselves. It's about understanding that every moment we spend in trivial pursuits or with people who drain us of energy is a moment we can never reclaim. Stoics understand that time spent with integrity and purpose is time well guarded. Guarding your time fiercely means being discerning about where you invest your energy. It's about saying no to distractions and superficial pursuits, even if that sometimes means disappointing others or stepping away from what's popular or expected. Imagine viewing each day as a finite coin purse. Every interaction, every task, every conversation is a coin spent. When we view time in this way, we start to ask ourselves, does this align with my values? Does it bring me closer to wisdom, to strength, to purpose? If not, we learn to let it go. Guarding our time is an act of self-respect. When we treat each moment as precious, we direct our energy toward growth, connection, and fulfillment. We become deliberate, moving through life with a focus that cuts through distractions and cultivates depth. In fiercely guarding our time, we make space for the things that truly matter, allowing us to live not only longer but deeper. 8. Face your fears until they surrender. Fear is a shadow that follows us, often lurking in the corners of our minds, shaping our decisions and holding us back from our potential. Yet the Stoic does not view fear as something to flee from or suppress. Instead, they see it as a teacher, a challenge to be met head-on. To live courageously, the Stoic believes in facing fear until it no longer holds power over them. Marcus Aurelius, one of Rome's greatest Stoic philosophers, faced wars, betrayals, and the constant threat of death. Yet he wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Fear, he understood, is largely a product of our perception. By confronting it, we weaken its hold on us. The act of facing our fears, whether they be fear of failure, rejection, or uncertainty, is a way of reclaiming our strength. Imagine fear as a barrier between you and a fuller, richer life. Each time you face it, you chip away at this barrier. The Stoic trains their mind to see fear as an opportunity for growth. By stepping into discomfort, we expand our resilience, proving to ourselves that we are capable of enduring more than we thought. This is not reckless courage, but intentional, calculated bravery, taking small steps into the unknown until what once terrified us becomes merely another part of life. Facing fear doesn't mean it disappears overnight. It means choosing to walk forward despite it, letting it grow quieter with each step. Over time, fear begins to surrender, shrinking in the face of your courage. What once seemed insurmountable becomes a memory of growth. In choosing to confront our fears, we not only diminish them, we unlock parts of ourselves we never knew existed. 9. Forgive, but never forget the lesson. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as letting others off the hook or condoning wrongs done to us. But true forgiveness, from a Stoic perspective, is less about excusing someone's behavior and more about freeing ourselves from the weight of resentment. Holding on to bitterness only keeps us chained to past pain, draining our energy and clouding our present. Forgiveness is the act of letting go, but never at the cost of wisdom gained. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This doesn't mean we ignore wrongdoing or pretend it didn't happen. Instead, we process the pain, acknowledge the lesson, and let go of any desire for retribution. By doing so, we release ourselves from the toxic grip of anger and find clarity in the experience. Each wrong done to us is a lesson, a piece of wisdom we carry forward, making us stronger and more aware. It's a reminder of what we will or will not tolerate, of the boundaries we must set, and of the people and situations we should avoid. Forgiving doesn't erase the lesson. We still remember what was done and the insights we gained from it, but we choose to rise above it, using our past experiences to guide our future with discernment and strength. This kind of forgiveness is both liberating and empowering. It ensures we don't waste emotional energy on past wounds, but rather harness that energy to become wiser. In forgiving but not forgetting, we make room for inner peace and personal growth, living in a way that honors the lessons without being defined by them. 10. Live each day as if it were your last. The Stoics deeply understood the impermanence of life. They believed that the awareness of our mortality is not morbid but clarifying, reminding us that each day is a gift, not a guarantee. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day by living as if each day might be our last." We approach life with a sense of urgency and purpose, free from the illusion of infinite time. Imagine waking each morning with the thought, "If this were my final day, how would I spend it?" This mindset strips away distractions, trivial worries, and excuses. It compels us to prioritize what truly matters, to speak words of kindness, to pursue meaningful work, to cherish loved ones, and to let go of grudges. When we embrace each day as a finite opportunity, we find ourselves more present, more aware, and more committed to living authentically. Living this way doesn't mean abandoning our plans or forsaking responsibility. It means recognizing that life is fragile and that our time here is limited. When we remember that death is an inevitable part of life, we are less afraid of it and more inspired to make the most of each moment we are given. This approach instills a deep sense of gratitude and urgency in everything we do. By living each day as if it were our last, we remove the habit of postponing happiness or self-improvement. We stop waiting for the right time to make changes or pursue dreams. We embrace the present, fully aware that today is the only certainty we have. It's a call to live with purpose, courage, and appreciation, cherishing each moment and each person in our lives without delay. In this way, we make every day a complete and meaningful chapter in the story of our lives. These messages are not suggestions, they are principles forged by the Stoic mind, uncompromising in the pursuit of inner strength. We do not waver when life challenges us. We stand, unbreakable, governed by a quiet, unyielding resilience. In mastering ourselves, we find the freedom that lies beyond fear, beyond desire, and beyond the approval of others. This is our path, a path where hardship is our teacher, self-discipline our armor, and silence our sanctuary. Let us walk it together.